Good evening to you. Welcome to Prime Edition. Tomorrow, as the country marks the 12th Mashujaa Day celebrations under the 2010 Constitution, more than half of this country is suffering from severe effects of drought, and more than half of this country, you could say, essentially is hungry. 29 counties so far are affected by the severe drought. We have details lined up for you tonight. And of course, in keeping up with the spirit of being your true sports partner, this bulletin will be about 30 minutes or so, because we'll be beaming to you live the match between Bayern München and FC Augsburg that will be playing live on KBC Channel 1. Here are tonight's highlights. Government pledges to invest in value addition and agro-processing to enable manufacturing sector create jobs. Ravaging drought. 6 more counties join those that are in dire need of relief supplies. And family in Nakuru blames police for disappearance of 2 brothers. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Sign language interpreter tonight is Byron Abuli. Wairi Mojenga will be next with business, and of course there will be sports news also lined up for you tonight before we hand you over to the live match. Now, to begin us tonight, the President, Dr. William Ruto, says the government will create a conducive environment for the manufacturing sector to flourish. President Ruto says the government will invest in value addition and agro-processing, which have the potential of creating jobs for millions of the youth.
The manufacturing sector contributed 7.2% to the economy in 2021. The figures, the government says, is way below capacity, adding that wastage in the manufacturing sector is due to not intensely championing locally made products.
It doesn't require any genius. You know, we don't have, there is nothing for us to have a conversation about. We just need to connect our raw materials to the market, jobs in between, money in between, and all of us will be doing well.
President Ruto says to achieve major milestones by the year 2030, the government plans to reform the tax regime, including making it predictable for long-term investments in manufacturing.
We need to reform our income tax, our income tax law, so that again we make it up to date. There are too many patches of it. Nobody knows how it looked like in the first place.
On their part, manufacturers decried tough policies that eventually add to a high cost of production and cost jobs.
For manufacturers to operate effectively and efficiently, they require a business environment that enhances competitiveness. This is through the development of policies and frameworks, create sustainable jobs, and increasing investments.
Implementation of local procurement policy so that we can use locally made vehicles, and then of course, Your Excellency, implementation of EV regulations.
However, President Ruto says opportunities currently outweigh challenges, adding that, for example, it is not clear why Kenya was not a champion of export industries such as the textile industry, despite the high number of livestock slaughtered annually.
We are number 3 in Africa in terms of livestock production. It's either for milk or for meat. Nobody thinks about the hide.
Livestock keepers were asking us, what are we going to do with our skin? Who is this group of people standing between us and the value that we can get from our skins and hides? You people. You are the people standing between us and 75 billion.
President Ruto wondered why Kenya exports 95% of its tea in raw form, challenging manufacturers to inject more value in agricultural products for farmers to earn more.
The farmers are already working too hard to produce the tea. Who is failing our farmers? Our manufacturers. You guys. You're failing our farmers. We are not adding value to what they are producing. We are continuing to sell our tea in the auction. We are getting peanuts for it, and many other people who do not have a single bush of tea are making more money than us.
Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Some sad stories, or a sad story Tonight, 29 counties are battling the revering drought, up from 23 in the last 4 months. The Principal Secretary for Special Programs, Nelson Marwa, says the new regions include Migori, Homa Bay, Nyeri, Nyandarua, Kilifi, and parts of Laikipia counties.
Speaking while releasing the second phase of 80 trucks of relief food to various affected areas, the Principal Secretary for Special Programs, Nelson Marwa, said 29 counties are now relying on relief supplies, up from 23.
The government has projected, and the government is ready to deal with this head on. I can assure you, there is already a projected program. When the Deputy President was directed by Hechi to chair a sectoral meeting, we have done a projected plan.
Marwa noting that the new areas include Migori, Homa Bay, Nyeri, Nyandarua, Kilifi and parts of Laikipia County, which are now food insecure.
The government must ensure that all Kenyans in this pocket, sub-counties in a county, are taken care of. In terms of statistics, currently NDMA is doing assessment, and I would like to wait for that report. I want to be very open. I don't want to come here and wape funny stories. Let's wait in a week's time or so to tapata the new assessment of the drought situation in the country.
Marwa said part of this relief food will be distributed to schools to help retain students.
Ration imeongeza kufuatana na directive ya president, because alisema chakula kiongezwe, badala kupatiana 200, double it. We have done that, and this is because tunataka kikifika wananchi wapewe, mashule yapewe, because unajua wanaenda mtihani. Yeah, they are about approaching exams, so we must retain them in schools. Hii nyama tumepakia iende kwa mashule na hospitali.
The food will be distributed by a multi-agency team to ensure only the most deserving benefit, urging those given the responsibility to be morally guided.
And we are tracking this food here. Mwenye ataweka mkono kwa hiki chakula, mimi mnajua, that guy will be arrested on the spot. Na tunaomba media pia, be our ombudsman, monitor the food. Kama inafika ama ifiki, peana report. Kama inaibiwa, media na wananchi. Wananchi pia mumue macho, chakula kikija kwenu msiruhusu chifu aweke kwa store.
And now Amin Mohammed Ibrahim has been sworn in as the new director of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Speaking after taking oath of office, which was presided over by Chief Justice Martha Koome, Amin vowed to execute pending cases expeditiously, work within the bounds of the law and uphold the Constitution.
I, Amin Mohammed Ibrahim,
the new sheriff in town,
do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Constitution and the President of Kenya during my service in the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
It is a new dawn at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations following the swearing in of Amin Mohammed Ibrahim as the new Director of Criminal Investigations.
I'm ready for the task and ready to lead the DCI to deal with the challenges of our time.
Amin took the oath of office in a ceremony in an event presided over by the Chief Justice, vowing to take up the task ahead and help solve key issues in terrorism, corruption, money laundering, among others.
I promise the Kenyan people that as the DCI, I'm going to discharge my duties and responsibilities professionally, with utmost integrity and with utmost respect.
Chief Justice Martha Koome challenging the new DCI boss, urging him to uphold the rule of law.
I have confidence that you will perform your duties in accordance with the law and fairness, as the Constitution that is our true north venerates the cardinal value and the principle of justice.
Amin was also welcomed by the chair of the Police Service Commission, Eliud Kinothia, and Acting Inspector General of Police, Nur Gabo, who vowed to support him.
We will stand strongly within our mandate. As the employer, Mr. Amin, we want to assure you, leave your welfare to us. Deal with the job before you.
I want to inform
the public that there's new sheriff in town and their cases will be heard without any prejudice, and Kenyans will see the fruits of the new transformation within the National Police Service. And Amin is coming with 33 years of experience, and I want to assure that he will be part of a team of investigators who will make a difference. Thank you, the Chief Justice.
At the DCI headquarters, he was received by the acting DCI, Dr. Hamisi Massa, for the office handover. The new DCI boss, 58-year-old Amin Mohammed Ibrahim, has 33 years of experience and previously served as the Director of Internal Affairs Unit. While Kenyans across the country now look forward to the new sheriff in town, the Director of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Amin Mohammed Ibrahim, who takes over from his predecessor George Kinoti to see how he's going to execute cases expeditiously as promised. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
And as the country celebrates the disbandment of the Special Service Unit at the DCI, or rather branch of the DCI, a family in Nakuru is living in agony following the mysterious disappearance of their kin allegedly abducted by police officers more than 8 months ago. Alfred Omboto and Vincent Mutari, both middle-aged men, are said to have been bundled into a vehicle after the abduction at Kiundu area by men believed to be police officers. Efforts by the kin to establish their whereabouts have been futile. After the disappearance of 35-year-old Alfred Omboto and 26-year-old Vincent Mutari in March, the sister Lucy Mora reported the matter, and it was booked at Lanet Police Station and Bahati Police Station. Despite identifying one of the officers accused of being part of the abduction gang in Kiundu, days later, the police had the worst news a relative would expect to hear about their missing kin. The police said that the two could not be traced. The family not only lives in agony, but the fear of the unknown, unaware whether the two brothers are alive or dead.
Tumekanyaga hapo kwa CID. CID anatuambia hapana, nitawasomea datas. Mara tena tunakuja, wanarudi wanatuambia hapana, datas tutasoma on Monday. Tumesonga ikafika mwezi wa 7 tena tukakuja wakatuambia hapana, datas mwenye anasoma hakuna. Mwisho alikuja kutuambia tunawasumbua kwa ofisi, mtoke mwende. Tunataka tujue kwamba watoto wetu walikuwa wamefanya kazi gani, juu mmoja yani walikuwa wamefanya kosa gani, juu mmoja ni mgeni alikuwa ametembelea brother yake.
In the search for the two, the family has been to police stations, hospitals and morgues with the hope of finding them, but ends up ineffectual. The family accuses police officers of inaction and are now living in fear, claiming an elimination plot.
Hata mimi venye niko hivi saa hii, maisha yangu iko hatarini juu hata mimi kuna vitisho naendelea kupata saa hii. Hata siku hizi huwa natembea nabadilisha gari, siendi na gari moja juu kuna wakati nimefuatwa mpaka kwangu, mpaka kwa gate.
Tumetembea mara tunasikia mili imepatikana Yara. Tunatoka hapa moja kwa moja mpaka Yara. Tunaenda ndio tunapata mili imepatikana pale, lakini mili wa brother zangu hawafanyi nini? Hawapatikani pale.
Human rights organizations in Nakuru are now calling for the expeditious resolution of the matter to give the family closure, while at the same time calling for a detailed probe into officers who are part of the disbanded Special Service Unit.
Disbanding the Special Unit is not enough. Members of the SSU must be investigated and prosecuted for their individual and command roles in extortion, abduction, kidnapping, torture, extrajudicial execution, and forced disappearance, which are serious crimes.
Sisi si adui ya mwananchi. Polisi amekula kiapo kuyalinda maisha ya Mkenya, kulinda mali ya Mkenya, na wala sio kupeleka Wakenya kwenye kaburi.
The Senate is set to investigate the death of a 2-year-old boy who was admitted at the Kenyatta National Hospital with a forked jembe lodged in his head. This follows a statement sought by Senator Hamida Ali seeking to establish whether the boy died out of negligence by medics.
Circumstances surrounding the death of a boy who was admitted with a forked jembe lodged in his head at Kenyatta National Hospital are now a matter of interrogation at the Senate. Nominated Senator Hamida Ali sought a statement from the Senate Health Committee asking senators to investigate working conditions at the biggest referral hospital in the country.
Give reasons, number 2, for the inordinate delay in attending to the boy, noting the time difference between which the patient arrived in the hospital and the time when the patient was seen, considering the urgent and critical nature of the care he needed. Number 3, undertake an investigation into the conduct of the hospital in dealing with the patient and propose disciplinary actions on the medical officers found capable. And the last but not least, undertake a visit to the hospital to ascertain the state of healthcare provincial.
Supporting the statement, Senate Minority Leader Stewart Madzayo and nominated Senator Maureen Mutinda called for a comprehensive review on how public health facilities were offering services.
Nakubaliana na vile alivyosema vyote kwamba mtoto aliyepatikana na lile jembe la kulimia ama la kujenga ama la aina gani, lakini tuliliona katika magazeti limepigwa picha, lilikuwa limeingia kweli kwenye kichwa. Na mimi naunga mkono kabisa kwamba kulikuwa na uchelewefu wa madaktari kumhudumia yule kijana.
Mr. Speaker, this matter should be highly investigated. We are saddened by the response of Kenyatta hospitals. We should not be losing our kids.
In a detailed statement explaining the events that unfolded from the time the boy was admitted to the hospital to the time he was pronounced dead, Kenyatta National Hospital said they did all they could to save the boy. The Senate Health Committee is expected to report to the House in 2 weeks. Gisho Kiwashira, Prime Edition.
It'll be interesting to see the results of that Senate probe. And then, of course, the other question being, what next? And what happens to Kenyatta National Hospital, obviously accused severally of cases of medical negligence, if this really is found to be a case of medical negligence. Time for us to take a breather. When we come back, we've got news lined up for you, including business and sports.
Doa no jijo gengo, jo imbo doa no jijo gengo, ye doa no jijo gengo, o jijo pinyo wacho, o jijo polo morimbo, o kego kombo budo gelich, o jijo member.
It is in Komondo village that the church SD America is built.
Kapuk Yi nunge mangenya about America and no se bit enlightened about life in America. Mino ugero dala neka kino no chako dala ne America ko jijo.
Doa no jijo gengo, jo imbo doa no jijo gengo, ye doa no jijo gengo.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya joking kwa simu yako, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash.
Good morning, class. Good morning, Mr. Kipto. Now I want you to write a composition using the word jogging.
Teacher, please give us spelling for the word jogging.
Sijasema jog ile jog ya kunyongwa. Hapana, ninasema jogging. Na sijasema jog ile nye unasema jog ya kukimbia ya marathon ama ile jog ingine ile jog ya television ya kucheka. Sijasema hiyo jogging. Na maanisha jogging ya brain ile kukimbiza akili changamoto. That a composition using the word jogging.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza star 811 star 758 hash, star 811 star 758 hash.
Afande, umewahi jiuliza mbona si ufanya zile vitu tunafanya?
Ni nini mbaya? Hakuna kitu mbaya sana, leave me alone. That's an order.
Jibril and Mohammed, their leader is still unknown.
I'm here to negotiate on behalf of the government. What name can I use?
Call me a legion.
In this world, there are three kinds of people. The sheep, the sheepdogs, and the wolves. We are the sheepdogs. It's our job to protect the sheep from the wolves.
Our mission is to rescue the hostages. These are our targets.
Wamefika. Wako halkan.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Now, Nairobi is often considered an opportunity city where people from all walks of life come to seek livelihood. But more often than not, some youths view the capital town as the most unwelcoming. 10 years ago, a film, Nairobi Half-Life, premiered and immediately became a barrier breaker for the local film industry. Today, the film still makes fodder for relevant conversations. Here is a review of our film in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
Of a Spartan boy.
The film Nairobi Half-Life follows a young Kenyan Moss with a dream to tread the boards as an actor.
Spartans, what is your profession?
In order to realize this dream, he leaves his village and heads for Nairobi, but is overwhelmed by the hustle and bustle of the city. One day, he is robbed and left completely helpless in the streets. Placed in this existential predicament, Moss slowly slips into Nairobi's underworld. In a twist of fate, he meets a Nairobi crook, OT, who becomes a close friend and takes him into his criminal gang.
Ah, OT. Gota jo mtu wangu.
Hii ni job gani unadunga? Sasa ukishocha pena dingo?
Na kanirusha hii wax.
Ai. Ni uchopo. Nge hivi.
Ai, na wax.
Ai. Dunia changa kimangoto.
What begins as a petty thievery culminates in serious crimes.
Charity.
Directed by Tosh Gitonga and co-written by Sarah Moniki, Nairobi Half-Life sought to highlight the activities that take place in the world city, Nairobi.
In the beginning, we were clear that we wanted to tell a story about Nairobi. So we threw in different kinds of ideas, like what is authentically Nairobi. And one thing that kept coming up was Nairobi. And we thought about, okay, so how about a guy who comes to the city and he has a dream? He doesn't want, like, crime is not what he's come to the city for. He's come to chase a dream that he's always had, and like many people.
Sarah Moneki notes the casting director got a cast that was much better than what she envisioned while creating the characters in her script. Nairobi Half-Life stars Joseph Werimo, who plays the character Moss, and the late Olwenya Maina, who played the character OT.
When you watch him, you'd think he's a ghetto kid who has grown up like that his whole life, and that's why he's so good at what he did. But it wasn't that. It's because he would research, he'd go deep into the character to understand who this person is in every character that he acted in. You have a character, and then the actor either gets it maybe 10% or gets it 50% or 70%. Olwenya hit it like 150%.
Manzi afande kuna vile uradi haijajipa. So kama unaweza kama next week itakuwa poa sana. Nina friend akula?
Sometimes as a writer, I question, did I choose the right industry? Did I choose the right career? The Oscars, I mean, being the country that, being the film that is representing my country for the Oscars was validation.
In the Kenyan film industry, and the first Kenyan film to be nominated for an Oscar award, the crime feature film Nairobi Half-Life still holds a record in cinema attendance for Kenyan local film. Having been in the film industry for 22 years, Sarah says the industry has really evolved to more audience watching local films. She further noted that Nairobi Half-Life opened doors for the Kenyan film to compete on the world arena.
We told a story that was totally Kenyan. So I think that makes it resonate with so many people. And then also even the production values were pretty high. Everybody who worked on this film worked. Yani, they gave it their all. And you can see in the end product.
Komedos mi ndo niliwaamsha. Si ndio dunga wax. Ni lazima tujenge ganji yetu.
Ujue naweza kuangusha.
Jacqueline Mashujaa for Cinemas and Theatre.
Let's focus on an ongoing process that takes a break tomorrow, then resumes Friday and ends on Saturday. Environment Cabinet Secretary nominee Soipan Tuya says she will use the upcoming COP27 climate change conference to put up a strong case for Kenya in mitigating the negative impacts of climate change in the country. Soipan, who appeared before the appointment committee Tuesday, also says she will relocate those who were evicted from the Mau Forest, if approved for the position. On her part, Tourism CS nominee Penaina Malonze had a hard time responding to the panel's questions, especially on domestic tourism.
Members of the committee.
Nominated Senator Soipan Tuya was put to task to explain to the committee what strategies she will put in place to deal with climate change if she is approved to head the environment docket. Soipan says our focus is greening Kenya and dealing with the waste management menace. Tuya also faced questions about the Mau controversy.
I tell this committee the truth, the whole truth.
Penina Malonza, who was seeking to convince the panel on her suitability to head the Tourism and Wildlife Ministry, had a rough time explaining to the panel her roles.
How will we trust you, those of us who come tourism-rich area, that you will actually get tourism to the 10 million number?
There's been policies in this ministry, and he's mentioned quite a number of them. And he's quoted that I've diverted to domestic, yet the focus should be international tourism. I want to assure Chairman that this ministry will be in safe hands.
Malonza also found herself on a tight spot as the committee sought to understand how she will deal with the human-wildlife conflict menace.
Would you consider, when you get into office, if you are approved, to reschedule those animals on the schedule where compensation follows such attacks?
I will relook hard because, as you've said, I believe it comprises the largest category of the claims that we used to get. Having been in Kitui, I'm a witness to this, and that's the area I will be relooking at.
Zakaria Njeru, the lands nominee, on the other hand, was asked how he will deal with the historical land injustices that has become a thorn in the flesh in the country.
The hiccups which have been there, Mr. Chairman, I promise once I'm there, I'll do system audit, see where we are not right. And once that is done, Mr. Chairman, it will be the easiest way to do things, especially in the lands registry. So mine is to say that the process has begun. I know there are hiccups, but I promise to look into it after doing a system audit.
The panel also sought to understand what will be his plan on digitalization process at the Land Registry and National Titling Program. The last nominee to be vetted Wednesday was Health CS nominee Susan Wafula. The vetting exercise continues Friday with 7 nominees yet to face the panel. Timothy Kipnoso for Prime Edition.
All right, that's where we put a cap on a bit of news. Now we want to head over to business where Wairi Moajega is on standby.
Yes, I am. And tonight, JJ, we'll be looking at what the cabinet nominee Kipchumba Murkomen responded when it comes to the vetting process that happened on earlier this morning, and also the GMO maize seed varieties that are awaiting cabinet approval.
All right, take it
well, let's now do this. The government plans to review the standard gauge railway contract with China to raise the repayment period to 50 years. The cabinet secretary nominee for transport, Kipchumba Murkomen, says the current 20-year contract is putting pressure on Kenya's debt position. Murkomen told the parliamentary committee on appointment that the 450 billion shillings railway project is yet to break even 5 years since it was commissioned. Financial experts have called on the National Treasury to renegotiate the debt repayment period with the Chinese government to give Kenya some breathing space. Transport CS designate Kipchumba Murkomen said his first order of business, if approved, will be to renegotiate the SGR loan repayment period from the current 20 to 50 years and make the SGR contract public.
My first responsibility when I get to office is to find where the agreement is and give it to the people of Kenya through Parliament. Why are we hiding? The problem, Mr. Chair, with the SGR is that we took a loan of 20 years on an infrastructure of 100 years. It becomes impossible to be able to pay that loan by revenue that comes from the railways. And even in 50 years, it will never break even if you load the loans to the railway.
Murkomen said he will streamline operations at the Kenya Ports Authority, adding that the declaration by President William Ruto to return operations to the port was purely based on freedom of choice and commerce.
You choose whether you want to go by road or you go by rail, and you don't force any of the customers to use rail or road. But it doesn't mean that the ICD in Naivasha has been closed. No. The Port of Mombasa, the Kenya Ports Authority is working on a mechanism of attracting the investors, particularly the government of Uganda and South Sudan, so that they can use the port in Naivasha.
Murkomen further proposed the restructuring of Kenya Airways by splitting the cargo and passenger business, as well as setting up a charter arm for the carrier.
It needs Kenya Airways to also, and I've had conversation on this, to have other businesses on the side where they provide other services, drone services, the speakers, surveying services, and other services that other private companies are giving as one way of raising their revenue.
He told legislators that he will revive construction of the Greenfield terminal, if approved, to increase JKIA traffic to 25 million passengers to make it an Africa aviation hub. Wairi Mojenga for Prime Edition. Now, 3 GMO maize seed varieties are awaiting cabinet approval before their release into the Kenyan market. The 3 seed varieties developed by the Kenya Agricultural and Research Organization have been developed to fit the local climatic and soil conditions.
The development by the Kenya Agricultural and Research Organization, KALRO, comes at a time when the debate is raging following a cabinet decision last month to lift a 10-year ban on the import and cultivation of genetically modified food in Kenya. KALRO says the lifting of the ban will go a long way in not only lowering the cost of production, but also increasing farm output, citing stock borers that destroy 13 million bags of maize in Kenya annually.
This pest significantly contributes to low production that currently stands at 7 to 10 90 kilogram bags against a potential of 22 to 35 bags per acre of maize.
KALRO says the 3 GMO maize seed varieties that are awaiting cabinet approval are WE125-9B, WE325B, and WE526B.
Scientifically, GMO is proven to be safe for food, feed, and for the environment, and is currently approved for cultivation in about 70 countries worldwide.
KALRO has partnered with the African Agricultural Technology Foundation to avail 11 metric tons of certified seeds to 500,000 farmers across mid-altitude ecological zones as a pilot program pending full commercialization by private farms during next year's long rains.
So the seed for the GM maize will be sold by private companies and also by KALRO at the prices similar to the current maize varieties. There will be no difference.
Amid concerns about the safety of GMOs, KALRO maintains that Kenya has robust policies, legal and institutions that will govern the use of GMOs.
Now, every 20th of October, Kenyans celebrate their heroes, giving a chance to individuals who perform commendably to be feted and celebrated, from the renowned poets to political aficionados, and even internationally acclaimed athletes. Here are some of the people Kenyans are celebrating this Mashujaa Day.
With the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010 came many changes, including a name change of various holidays. This new beginning for the country brought Mashujaa Day, a day set aside every 20th of October to celebrate the achievements of outstanding Kenyans all over.
It is a day when we reflect on the journey that Kenya has taken since its inception, or since its independence in 1963.
For many Kenyans, this holiday means an acknowledgement of freedom fighters, keeping in line with the intent of what was then termed as Kenyatta Day.
We have got the founding fathers of this country, including Thomas Joseph Odhiambo Mboya. We have got the Jomo Kenyatta, the first president of the Republic of Kenya. You have got the likes of Martin Shikuku, Charles Rubia, Kenneth Matiba, and many more.
Revolution kama independence, katiba, na mambo ya second revelation, na wale ambao wanatupigania haswa mwananchi wa kawaida. Kwa hivyo ndio ile siku ambayo tunasherehekea wale ambao wamejitolelea.
For others, they insist the holiday is open to any Kenyan, including and especially individuals who work behind the scenes, working tirelessly to grant the country socio-economic independence. And for journalists and writers, they choose to honor celebrated writers and poets, many of whom have been recognized internationally for a job well done.
You know, the likes of Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Grace Ogot, Chris Wanjala, Hadambia Salache, Jonathan Kariara, Rebecca Njau, Marjorie Makgoyo Luthe. These many writers, you know, who have contributed immensely to this country by just producing.
Bila kusahau Mkenya Eliud Kipchoge. Ule ni shujaa ambaye amepeperusha bendera ya Kenya kimataifa.
But above all, Kenyans are in agreement that this holiday remains a reflection of where the country has been and where it aspires to be, in the leadership and guidance of heroes determined to make the country a world leader.
Shujaa kwangu mimi ni yule mama mboga naishi pale chini. Ni hawa vijana hawana ajira, kila siku wanajinasua, wanaamka, wanapigana na maisha.
Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Well, that's where we put a cap on tonight's business and news. On the other end of the studio, we have Richard Munga with a sports update. Have a good night and happy Mashujaa Day. My name is Wairimo Jenga.
On Wednesday, 19th October 2022, Bayern Munich travel to Augsburg for their duel at 9:45 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1.
It's Augsburg winners in the end. Bayern go on, hungry no doubt.
KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, it is 32 days and 2 hours or thereabout till the 2022 Qatar World Cup, which KBC will be proudly, of course, bringing you some of the matches with our affiliate stations or our subsidiaries bringing you all the other matches, of course, on our radio platforms. Well, my name is Richard Munga with the day's sports update. A renowned drift racer, Ahmad Daham, is in the country to promote the sport and mentor upcoming drivers and tuners. The Cyprus-born racer expressed his elation over his maiden trip to Africa, noting that it has been a long time coming. The Red Bull athlete, who ventured into racing at the tender age of 14, will spearhead a series of workshops to mentor upcoming drift racers in the country, including a career talk at the University of Nairobi main campus on Friday and a practical session at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KCC, a day later. He expressed his excitement at molding the next generation of drifters, reiterating that this is what drives him at the moment.
About competition and winning. Being an ambassador is like the main idea is to give back. I've been drifting for the past, from 2011. I've struggled a lot. I put a lot of dedication, whether it was financially, mentally, it was a struggle. So at the moment, what I'm trying to do is like give back to the community. What we're doing in Kenya here, we're trying to grow the drifting scene, to get the underground drifting scene to become a professional thing. So at the moment, my main goal is not competition, it is to give back to the community, whether it was in the Middle East or around the world. So that's what an ambassador should do.
Meanwhile, Kenneth Mawira Wanjohi is the new winner of the 20 million shillings from SportPesa Mega Jackpot after he correctly predicted and won 16 out of 17 games. Wanjohi spent 1,000 shillings on 10 bets and one of them earned him 20 million shillings, 31,087 shillings, to become one of the many Kenyans who have won millions of shillings this year from SportPesa Jackpots. Wanjohi, who is currently unemployed, said he will first build his parents a decent house before opening up a business to improve the welfare of his family. On to other matters, Wilfred Zaha proved yet again that he is the man to shoulder responsibility at Selhurst Park as his well-taken winner capped Crystal Palace's terrific 2-1 turnaround win against managerless Wolverhampton. Meanwhile, Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford could make a return tonight to face Tottenham Hotspur after he was dropped out of the starting lineup against Newcastle United last weekend.
Assured Crystal Palace a 2-1 comeback win over Wolves to secure the 3 points which saw them up to the 10th place in the English Premier League table.
Hudson-Odoi inside the penalty area, laying it across. Wilfred Zaha, Palace lead.
In another match, Brighton's winless run under new boss Roberto De Zerbi continued with frustrating goalless draw against struggler Nottingham Forest. Manchester United host third-place Tottenham Hotspur, hoping to bounce back to winning ways after frustrating goalless draw over Newcastle over the weekend. Anthony Martial remains unavailable because of back problem, while Scott McTominay returns from suspension. The Red Devils will monitor Christian Eriksen, who was unwell, to feature on Sunday as they expect Marcus Rashford to make a return. Other games on card tonight: Bournemouth take Southampton, Liverpool host West Ham, Brentford play Chelsea, while Newcastle face Everton.
Elsewhere, Steph Curry scored 33 points as the Golden State Warriors began the defense of their NBA title with a 123-109 win over the Los Angeles Lakers. The 34-year-old eight-time All-Star Curry led the Warriors scoring while Andrew Wiggins scored 20 points. The Warriors are aiming for fifth title in the past 9 seasons. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown each hit 35 points as the Boston Celtics opened the season with a 126-117 win over the Philadelphia Sixers. James Harden led Philadelphia with 35 points, while Joel Embiid, who won last season's scoring title by averaging 30.6 points per game, scored 26 points.
And the Golden State Warriors, they go inside, and there's 2 for AD.
Well, that's all the time we had for sport tonight, but of course, as we celebrate Mashujaa Day tomorrow, we have a couple of matches lined up. Some of them are in the bulletin, of course, the EPL, Manchester United, Tottenham, Chelsea, Bournemouth, the South Coast derby, that is Southampton versus Bournemouth, apologies for that. And of course, the big game obviously is in the DFB Pokal competition, whereby KBC Channel 1 shall be bringing you Augsburg versus Bayern Munich. That is the German champions at exactly 9:45 p.m. So stay tuned in for that in a few minutes. But for now, over to John Jacob Kioria. Have a good night.
Fantastic. The 9:45 is not very far. It's about a few minutes coming up. But of course, tomorrow early in the morning, let's meet up at the Uhuru Gardens. We'll be celebrating the Mashujaa Day, the 12th Mashujaa Day celebrations. KBC gives you an exclusive coverage of that event. And of course, analysis from studio all the way up to Uhuru Gardens. Let's meet up tomorrow and of course, enjoy your Mashujaa Day. God bless. Good night.